I just want to comment on Killer Mike. Now, there's so much that I would love to say in this audio clip, but there's just too much. And I'm not going to be able to get everything that I want to say in this video. But I will say that Killer Mike is riding the fence. The NRA played a clip, an introduction clip to the interview that him and colion-noir had. They didn't twist or change anything that was in that interview. When the heat came down on Killer Mike, then he started backtracking and started saying that the NRA misappropriated his words and what he had to say in that interview, and he started apologizing. Now, I'm going to put a link to the full interview on the bottom. In that interview, Killer Mike was doing the most talking. Colion-noir didn't really ask too many questions because the information that was given by Killer Mike was all voluntary. And I agreed with him. Everything he had to say in that interview, I agreed with him. But he lost credibility when he started backtracking, when the heat started coming down on him. Listen, whatever you believe in, if you have an interview and you voice your views, your opinions, your belief, what's in your heart, never take that back. Never apologize for what is originally in your heart. Never apologize for what you stand for. If you're going to stand for something, stand. And stand strong regardless of who or what comes against you. Now, we have to also look at too, and I agree with Killer Mike when he was saying that young people should organize. But organize for the right thing. Organize with a sound mind. If you're going to protest, if you're going to organize and protest with a sound mind. Don't be led by the Democrats to promote their own agenda. If you're going to organize, if you're going to protest with a sound mind and know what you're protesting and fighting about. Now, one issue I have with these so-called young people protesting is the fact that they are millennials. Now, some may say, what is wrong with millennials protesting? Well, these are the same young people that I recall back in the 90s and in the 80s when many of us were saying, and even older people were saying things like, and these are the young people of tomorrow. These are the young people that's going to be leading the world. These are the young people that's going to take care of us when we are in nursing homes. And we were saying that because of the fact that it was a crack era. Many of these so-called millennials are crack babies. I'm not saying all. Like Jesse Lee Peter would say, not all, not all, not all, not all, not all. But many of them were crack babies. You have to understand the mindset and mentality in which these millennials came up in. Many of them were born in single-parent homes. Many of them were brought up on the welfare system. Many of them had gotten so used to everything being given to them. They grew up not working or learning a sound work ethic. They always had things given to them. This is a generation where, when I grew up in school and I had to solve a math problem, we used our fingers, we drew lines on papers, we used our mind to figure those math problems. But I recall when my son was in school and the teacher sent home a paper saying what he needs in class. And one of the tools that he needed was a calculator. And that blew my mind. I'm like, why do you need a calculator in school? So, to make a long story short, the millennials are the generations that were dumbed down by the school system. These are the same young people, many, not all, which was pushed through the school system. In other words, just show up and you will graduate. Many of those millennials partook in the knockout game. Many of them were school dropouts. I heard on the news just yesterday, here locally, where a high number of senior citizens are being abused. That's heartbreaking. And if you look at the ones who've taken care of these seniors in these nursing homes, they're millennials. The ones that are badging and persecuting and bullying these seniors are millennials, even in the streets. These are the same millennials, and I'm saying this to make a point, that supported the legalized sodomy, the legalized marijuana, that support illegal immigration or immigrants. These are the same millennials that we hear about that's taking the lives of each other, primarily in the black community. These are the same millennials that never stood up to protest or fight or organize against the gun violence in their own communities. They allow the drug dealers and the gangbangers to run free. These are the same millennials that listen to death music, that disrespect women, that have no type of respect nor regards for their elders at all. But yet, Killer might support them organizing, although they're organizing without having a sound mind. They're being led for the purpose of destroying them. And nobody's really helping them to understand what they're actually fighting to give up. Now, there are so many black people that love to say that black people need to go on the gun range and learn how to shoot to defend themselves. But yet, how can you do that? How can you have your own gun club when you're protesting to have your rights taken away from you? And see, that's what I mean by these millennials that's organizing have no idea what they are doing. They're operating on emotion. They're operating on ignorance. there were some millennials, some protesters that were asked some questions, and they claimed that they were protesting against, what was the term that was used? But anyway, they were asked what it was, and they had no ideas. What was an assault weapon? And they had no idea what an assault rifle was. But they're out there protesting. And I mentioned in a video where if you were to ask them, what is a common sense gun law? They have no idea. They can't answer that question. In turn, these same millennials would turn and attack you personally. But these are the ones that are leading these protests and marches. These are the ones that people are supporting and getting a rallying behind to lead them. Now, again, like I said, if Killer Mike really believed in what he said, there's no reason why he should have ever apologized. See, and he's lost credibility with many that was behind him and supporting him, because now he's just riding the fence. He's playing both sides. He cannot be trusted. In one sense, he's saying, okay, I told my kids if they walk out of school or walk out the house or something to that effect. But then he comes back and apologizes and say that he wasn't coming against that protest or that march, and how he supports that and how he stands behind them. See, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. And I know I'm scattered. I'm scattered because there's so much that I want to say in such a short period of time. But a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Killer Mike has a forked tongue. He's a snake in the grass. And he cannot be trusted. Because there is no way that I'm going to stand up and say how I'm a proud gun owner and I support the Second Amendment, and then in the same breath I'm going to turn around and say I support these young people and I get behind them because they're protesting against what I just got done saying I believe in or I support. Taking away our rights. See, why are they fighting against legal gun owners that went through the system? There are too many laws that New York has some of the strictest laws, or maybe even the strictest law. But yet they want more laws. But yet we're not the ones that's doing the shooting and the killing. And again, no one organized or protests against illegal firearms. See, they allow that to happen. See, so a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. He cannot be trusted. And Killer Mike has a forked tongue. So this is a scattered video. I know it's scattered. There's so much I wanted to say in this video. But I'm going to put a link to the full interview on the bottom, and you will see that the NRA did not twist his words, did not make it seem like he was against that protest. That's not what that interview was about. See, they talked about more than a few things in that interview, not just these young people protesting. And regardless of how that interview went, how positive it was, they're still going to try to find a way to tear it down and bash it and blame the NRA. Now, I'm a proud member of the NRA. I've been licensed to carry and conceal since I came out the military back in the 80s. I own several firearms. Not one time did I ever shoot up a movie theater or a school. Not one time. But yet, we have to take the blame for what some other child did in a school that weren't supposed to have that firearm in the first place. And you know what? It's interesting, and I'm going to make a separate video on this, that everybody is talking about mental issue. Everybody now have a mental issue. Nobody takes responsibility for their own actions. You make a choice and decision, you have a mental issue. You know what? It's not a mental issue. It's a spiritual issue. It's a spiritual issue that many of these so-called young people, these millennials, open themselves up to. And I'm not going to get into that videos, but they're being controlled by something outside themselves. Just because of the so-called freedom that they have to dabble and tamper into things of the unseen realm. Okay, but that's getting into another topic and video. Okay, so I'm going to put the link to that whole video on the bottom, and you guys go watch it and listen to what Killer Mike is saying. He said nothing wrong in that interview, but when he came back and retracted his words, when he came back and started apologizing, then that's when I lost respect for this dude. Because he's riding the fence. So feedback, tell me what you think, subscribe. Until next time, I'm fearless.